you were talking about the human side. If we think about the leaders of those businesses, why do you think that sometimes we lose who we are ourselves? No, why don't we put ourselves in businesses and in brands? Is this something that, I don't know, we never learned maybe at the University of Business?
Well, as a human, by nature, we are some kind of a creature. We are beast inside sometimes. And when we are human, actually the whole idea of a human is that we have to learn how to be a human. Because otherwise, it is just like any other creature in the world, is always looking egocentric. You are looking from your own eyes. But what makes you human is that you are able to see from the common eyes, not only your eyes. And in order to do that, is that you need to have this, what you call this, the upgrading of a humanity. Generally, it is interesting that in Oriental language, in the Sanskrit or in Pali, the old language like Latin, the word human is called manusya. And what manusya basically means that one who has a higher power of thinking, you see. So the true humanness is that the one who has a higher ability, capacity of thinking. So what do you mean by higher capacity? Means that you are not looking narrowly just only in front of you, but you are able to widen your horizon and look at the whole world as your own world. So that is what basically we need as a human being. And that we hope that through the education, through our society, and through our political system, economy, we thought that we can broaden that sort of idea. But unfortunately, we were misled by the economy that you come first. Now, even with the COVID-19, you can see that we are, at the moment, we are hearing not a globalization, but we are hearing a deglobalization. Everyone is thinking of your own country as the most priority. You are looking at yourself. But actually, in reality, it doesn't work in a way. Because if you are alone in an island surrounded by all the sharks, how long you can stay? There's no way. So in order to be able to stay in the island with a peace and happiness, that you have to make a friends with you, all the sharks who is surrounding all your island. So that is what we call a human. And as a human, we can do that. So all the leaders, I guess that is something we have to search for. That is something we have to educate for our future leadership. So I always see leader as something like, who L is for the one who always aspire for learning. And the E always somehow empowering the people, empowering the society. A is always ready to adapt the new normal or whatever normalcy. And delegate, the D for delegate is able to, you can delegate all the workload and so and so. And of course, yourself have to engage with other people. That is another E. And not only that, time to time, you have to reflect on what you do. What is your outcome, what you are doing. And then, of course, overall, you have to do for the service. So that is I call leaders.
And Anil, when you speak about all this, how to learn to be a human, inspire others to learn to be a human, you speak about reflection. If you speak about how we can make it so this happens, let's say that a leader really, he's like deep engaged, on those ideas, no? How can you do that in the real business that you have, in front of you? These days we were speaking about the power of conversations, of investing time in your people, in your teams, to have this deep reflection you were just talking about, to have conversations. I was wondering, at some point, I remember you telling me, this was like 4 years ago, I think 5 years ago, I remember you telling me, Sandra, you need to put a monk in your board of directors. And you were saying, well, maybe then it becomes a monkey business. I remember that joke from you. But how do you think in practice this can be done? Which advice would you give in practice to a leader that has this kind of view in their day-to-day, which practical advice would you give to a person like this? No, invest time in this.
Yes, it is very simple as you are peeling banana to eat actually, because when you think of the leader, why you become leader? Because you have a lot of subordinate who will listen to you, or you have to work with that. The leadership is only relevant when there is other people. You are a CEO. It means that there are a lot of subordinates who regard you as a CEO. And in order to that regard, in order to this kind of relevancy, you have to behave, not only in the name, but you have to behave in action as well. This is a core message we have to think. What makes you a CEO, what makes you a leader is that the relationship you created with other people there. So that is the main idea. And if you can do that, I guess that everything will be smooth.
The economy of sufficiency can never replace the capitalist model, or anyway, at least what should we learn or what should we apply to this kind of compassionate capitalism that you were talking about? No, what can we learn the Western countries from Thailand, from the Bhutan model, from of those models of sustainable development? No. Tell me a bit more about those learnings we can apply to our model if this is viable.
Yes, but actually the East and West dilemma, the whole about the sufficiency economy is something about, it's another word is a balanced economy when you use the word sufficiency, because it is not something that even you can use a capitalism, for example, because at the moment we never have this sort of a perfect measurement, perfect system, which can, which is kind of a, the God creation system. We don't have that. So we have to create all the time. And even our creation, in a certain period, it works well, but after a while, it will create a problem. So there is because the nature of the world is that always changing. And you can't have that the capitalism as, Adam Smith capitalism at his time, and the modern capitalism is totally different already. We just have the spirit, the word, but the whole idea, whole things are already changed. The way we act, the way we behave, capitalism has changed. And there are so many varieties, so many shades of capitalism at the moment. So I don't mind what system you use it, but whatever system you use it, it depends on the people. It depends on the man who use the system. If you use the system in people-oriented, and the founding on the happiness, on the sort of GDP in terms of, the wealth and health, I would say that health and wealth, and that system would find whatever system it is. So you don't have to think to replace the capitalism, but we have to think that how can we add on some of the gadget, some of the system through the capitalism, which is we have been using at the moment, and to make it compassionate capitalism. Sufficiency economy is one of that thing, because we are talking about the sustainable development in the more global term, and luckily the late King of Thailand used the word sufficiency economy instead of a sustainable development goal. But if you understand these two things, two terminology, they are talking about the same thing. They are talking about that whatever you do, whatever your business, whatever your policy, it has to be human-oriented policy. It has to be planet-oriented policy. It has to be something that what you are going to leave for future generation. Principle of sufficiency economy, there are 3 R's. Relationships, so between the human being, the society base. 2 is resiliency. So we can, resiliency. So we can,
perfect, yeah,
to the same ideas or whatever. And the 3rd is reasoning of whatever as a human being.
I'd like to also have your point of view, because I know you've been involved in many conversations about this. I would like to know more about the GDP measurement. Yeah, actually, it's of course obvious now that we need to urgently update this measure of of performing, no? Which is absolutely ridiculous right now. No? What should an index that represents the global well-being of a country measure beyond the Human Development Index or the GDP? No? How to create it really? Which actors must be involved? Which are the challenges and the opportunities over there?
I guess if we are talking from the present perspective, the whole world, the United Nations is gearing the whole world under the umbrella of what we call is 2030 SDG, Sustainable Development Goal. But again, I am thinking hardly again that even the SDG is challenged by this COVID pandemic. Because whatever we thought about these 169 indicators of these 17 SDG Sustainable Development Goals, we have to come back, sit together and rethink about it. Because the whole idea of poverty is totally different. It shows by this COVID-19 that what kind of poverty we are talking about. It's not poverty from when one doesn't have money to use it, but it's a poverty of how can we share, the whole idea of loving kindness and the friendliness and then the humanness between each other. That is some kind of we are lacking at the moment. So should we just let someone die because we don't have enough equipment, it is just karma, or what is, because we can't afford it? Is that the right way to think about that? Because every single human being have a right to live. Every human being has a right to be happy. The system, I don't know whether we should have a Human Development Index or the GDP or even the GNH, but overall, whatever system you want to call it, the very important point is that how we are going to measure what we call happiness.
And I wanted to ask you as well about inequality, because I know it's a theme that actually you always have there in your mind, no? And this is the big problem of all what we've created, no? And how to promote, let's say, disruptive change on that, no? How or which role can have businesses there, do you think, in this private and public collaboration? And how can world organizations that you know very well, I don't know, people like United Nations, World Health Organization, how can they make it better? How can we empower them to make it better? No? Which do you think would be the pillars to sort out this terrible problem of the system we've created?
I guess that the inequality is a political drama. So we don't have, what do you mean by inequality? So if you're trying to make even equal, so what do you mean by equal? Because I always say that we have 5 fingers and our 5 fingers are, different length. So is that equal? And then each finger, they work differently in order to hold something very firmly. So it is not, if you have imagine that if you have the same length of our finger, does it work? Does it function as we are functioning now? So if we think that inequality in terms of, that sort of equal measurement, I don't see that that is the right way to thinking. Inequality basically just means that it is a distribution of tools and assistance is not equal. But if you said equality means that you are giving the tools and assistance at the same. So just as the normal pictures we always see in the net, in the web, is that if you have 3 height of human beings and want to see something throughout the fence, and then how you are going to, for the short one, so you give if you have equal, you'll give a same height of tools. But if you are trying to say the equity, then you are trying to give a different height of tools. But the main idea is that why they need the tools. Why need this tool? Because they want to see out there. In order to do that, I don't see that inequality is the right word to use that. In order to destroy the inequality, in order to kind of solve the problem of inequality, I better use not even the equality, not even the equity, but I prefer the word justice there. Because we use the justice, it means that we are giving, you know, whatever they needed, both opportunity, both tools, and encourage them to able to grow in their own capacity. And that is something what we needed.